Hello, welcome back to the Mobile Motorbike Mechanic channel. I'm Steve. Today, following on from last week's video, which was an April Fool, by the way, don't go sticking rubber bands in your bike. So anyway, today, a little bit more serious note. Sun's coming out, it's slowly getting a bit warmer here in the UK, and our British summertime has begun, so clocks have gone forward, lighter evenings. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to go and grab one of our bikes out the shed, and go through it from front to back, just do like a little bit of a pre-ride inspection, but maybe a little bit more involved. So things to look for when you bring your bike out the shed for the first time and start riding it for the season. So we'll see you when we get there. Right folks, so here we are with this custom motorbike, should we say. The reason why we're using this one today is because I don't want somebody saying, oh, but on a 2022 Triumph Tiger you didn't do this and you should have checked that and blah, blah, blah. This is a generic check over for any motorbike. So we might miss little bits out for your unique bike in your unique circumstances, but this is just a generic check over. So we've pulled this one out of the shed. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from sort of front to back, check it all over. And this also applies for like every time you want to pull your bike out of the shed, you might want to just give it a quick once over just to make sure it's safe for you to ride. So we'll get into it now. So here we are at the sharp end. So what we're going to do is we're just going to check the overall condition of the tyres. We'll come back and check tyre pressures in a bit, but we'll just check, make sure we've got no cracks. There doesn't seem to be any issues with the tyre itself on both sides, and you're checking to make sure the tread's perfectly good. And on this one, this is a brand new tyre, so lots of tread on that, which is good. Whilst we're down here, we'll check, make sure that there's no lip on the front disc, and we'll check to see what the pads are like in the caliper, and we can also check to make sure there's no oil or any leaking fork seals. Right, so on the front brakes, what we're looking for is this bit of material here. And we can see we've got the little cutouts. So this is all friction material, and this is the back of the pad. So we've got plenty of brake pad there. And then do the same on the other side of the disc, but it's just too difficult to film. Right, whilst we're also at the front end, we can have a quick check just to make sure that nothing's come loose. These pinch bolts on this particular bike, as you can see, they're lock wired. Same with the caliper bolts, they're lock wired, so they're not going to come undone. But just have a quick general overall inspection, give things a wiggle, make sure that your front guard's safe and what have you. Inspect your brake hoses, just make sure that everything, you know, there's no leaks and there's no chafing and there's no issues at the front end. So we're up to the controls on the bike. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make sure that the front brakes work. So, and the suspension works. Yeah, that's all good. We're going to check the master cylinders, make sure that we've got fluid in the reservoir and we've got no leaks. Front brakes are working. And on this bike, we've got a clutch master cylinder over this side. That's all operating properly. So if your brake master cylinder is of this type, you can have a look through the window and make sure that the level's correct. Now you might notice that that says it's down on the lower level, on the lower limit, but if we pick the bike up and stand the bike upright, we've actually got plenty of fluid in it. It's just because the bike was on its side stand. So things to notice, you can check these whilst the bike's upright. Right, next thing to check is your radiator coolant level. So pop the cap off, the bike's cold. Always check this cold, never once the engine's been running. And we can see in there, and we've got plenty of fluid in there, so we're all good. You can see the level. If we give the bike a little shake, you can see it wobbling around there. So we've got plenty of fluid in there, so we're happy with that. So we can pop the cap back on again, and whilst we're here, we'll just check the hoses, make sure that the clips are done up, make sure we haven't got any leaks. Come around this side, do the same again, and the hoses look in good condition and they're not frayed or split. Right, so moving back a little bit further, we've got fuel tank. One thing that people overlook is the seal on the fuel tank filler. Obviously, if you've got a normal fuel tank filler with a key, when you lift it up, there is a seal under there. And again, you're just checking to make sure that that's not going to be perished or leaking. That one's all good, so we can pop him back on again. Right, next on this one, we want to check the oil level. So we've got, on this bike in particular, we've got a dipstick. We don't have a sight glass. Some bikes have a sight glass. This one's got a dipstick. Whichever way your bike has it, you want to check it with the bike upright. Upright on a level surface is how you want to check it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop this on the paddock stand and then we can check that oil level. Here we go. Right, so oil level. We have a cloth. All we're going to do is, like I say, just dip the oil and see where we're at with it. Yeah, plenty of oil in that. So we've been told off with this before. Some bikes you check the oil on the dipstick on the threads. Other bikes you put the dipstick in. So just check which is relevant for your vehicle. If it's a sight glass, normally you'd have a sight glass kind of like this, but much smaller, and you'll have two lines, and the lower line is obviously minimum and the upper line is maximum. So you always want it up towards the maximum. Alright, so as we're down this side of the bike, we may as well check this rear set, footrest, and we're going to check the level in the master cylinder reservoir, so we know that's all good, and just check the operation of the rear brake. That's all working fine. Right, so now we're on this side of the bike. You can see there's the clutch slave cylinder, so we can just check to see if there's any leaks coming out of the hydraulic line, and there's not. We're all happy with that side of things. And we've got the gears, gear shift, footrest, and the rear set. Just giving it a quick wiggle and make sure nothing's loose, and we're all happy there. If your bike has got a clutch cable, your cable might come down this side, it might go down the other side. Wherever the cable pops out of the sleeve, just check to see if it's chafing. You might have a clutch cable on the way out, and similarly at the clutch lever end, you can check that as well. Right, so move back a little bit further again, and we're just going to check the chain, make sure the chain tension's all good, and make sure there's no tight spots in it, no tight links, everything's moving nicely and freely, and it's lubricated. As you can see, this one desperately needs a clean because it's meant to be gold, not black. Whilst we're here, we're also going to check the sprockets, the rear sprocket. We can't really check the front one without taking the cover off, so we'll just check the wear on the back sprocket. That's looking reasonable. It's not looking great. It's not looking absolutely 100% perfect because these are, used, but it's looking very good. There's no hooking of the teeth, so we're happy that that sprocket's all safe and good to go. Once we've done the sprockets, we're just going to check the disc, make sure there's no lip on it, and we'll check the pads as well. Just a visual check just to make sure we've got material on the brake pads. On this particular caliper, it's quite difficult because it's in the middle of the wheel, so getting into it's a bit awkward, but we can check that anyway. All right, as we can see, there is just a little bit of material in the pad there between the back. This is the back of the pad and this is the disc, and there's a bit of material in there. So on these brakes, we're all good. We can also check the passenger footrests, the hangers, make sure they're all tight, everything's there, it's all good. Just going to check the rear shock, make sure it's not leaking, it doesn't look like it's wet or damp or anything, so that's all good. And just checking the rear underneath here, make sure there's no, you know, there's nothing damp or oil or anything like that, so the rear shocks doesn't appear to be leaking at all. And finally, we're going to look at the rear tyre and make sure that the tread's all good on it. Again, we're looking for cracks or splits. There doesn't appear to be anything. There's no nicks or cuts, and there's nothing actually in the tyre, which all, to me, it looks fine. So that's all that done. So now we need to check the electrics. Right, so moving on to the electrics, we just need to check, make sure that the headlights and everything are working. So we'll turn the ignition on. So make sure we've got a headlight, and our flash is working. High beam, low beam, that's all good. And our left indicator and cancel, our right indicator and cancel. So we're all good with that. We just want to make sure that the little idiot lights on the dash are also working with the main beam and the indicators as well. Okay, moving to the back, we turn the ignition back on again. We'll make sure we've got tail light, we've got brake light, rear brake light. Oh, we've got number plate light. Yes, we have. And indicators. That should be left and right. Cool. And the horn. Yeah, that works. Cool. So the only thing left to do on this one is start it up. Okay, so I think this one's got a clean bill of health, all good, ready for the season, other than regular maintenance and keep an eye on things. Let us know in the comments what other things you'd check and how you'd check them. Let's get some feedback going on this. So remember to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you again on the next video. 36, bang on. You thought I'd forgotten?